کنفرانس در ژنو، تالار تاریخی ویکتوریا. اشرف، ایران، چشماندازهای نوین. با حضور رئیس جمهور برگزیده مقاومت. 22 سپتامبر 2011، 31 شهریور 90. جان بروتون، نخست وزیر ایرلند 1994 1997، رئیس هیئت اتحادیه اروپا در آمریکا 2004 2010. رودی جولیانی، شهردار نیویورک در سال 2001، شهردار جامعه بین المللی در نیویورک، کاندیدای ریاست جمهوری.
Your dream is the dream of America. The people living in freedom.
ادوارد رندل، فرماندار پنسیلوانیا 2002 2011، رئیس حزب دموکرات 1999 2001.
And now it's time for us to do the same at Ashraf. And we have failed at Ashraf.
مایکل موکیزی، وزیر دادگستری آمریکا 2007 2009.
The mullahs executed anyone with a connection with Camp Ashraf.
گونتر فرهویگن، نایب رئیس کمیسیون اروپا 2004 2010. لوئی فری، رئیس FBI 1993 2001.
President Dravi, we applaud your leadership. We honor your programs.
ژنرال جیمز تری کانوی، فرمانده نیروی تفنگداران دریایی آمریکا 2006 2010.
I tell you those things because I probably tell you something you already know. These people are not terrorists.
سفیر میچل ریس، مدیر سیاستگذاری وزارت خارجه آمریکا 2003 2005، نماینده ویژه در ایرلند شمالی تا 2007.
There needs to be international monitors, preferably UN monitors, placed at the camp to safeguard the residents.
ماتیو اوفورد، نماینده پارلمان انگلستان. سناتور جورجو بورناچین، عضو سنای ایتالیا.
Il campo di Ashraf è ancora sotto l'assedio, soprattutto quello sanitario.
نمایندگان پارلمان فدرال سوئیس ژان شارل ریل، اریک بورو، لوک بارتاسا.
Et j'aimerais vous dire que madame, vous êtes ici chez vous.
Les héros d'Ashraf subissent un blocus inhumain, en particulier médical.
Les résidents d'Ashraf ont été reconnus comme demandeurs d'asile par le Haut Commissariat aux réfugiés.
اریک سوتاس، سازمان جهانی علیه شکنجه.
Cette reconnaissance, c'est une reconnaissance que nous cherchions depuis longtemps.
ژان نیلز دوداردل، عضو شورای قانونگذاری ژنو، نماینده پارلمان فدرال سوئیس 1991 2003.
Mais la situation reste dramatique à Ashraf.
رمی پاگانی، عضو شورای اداری ژنو.
d'affirmer ici notre soutien inconditionnel à la protection dont vous avez droit.
اجرای موسیقی ایرانی کنفرانس در ژنو تالار تاریخی ویکتوریا اشرف ایران چشماندازهای نوین با حضور رئیس جمهور برگزیده مقاومت 22 سپتامبر 2011 31 شهریور 90
Thank you very much. Now I will give the floor to Ambassador Mitchell Rice. He was the Director of the Policy Planning at the U.S. State Department and then President's Special Envoy for the Northern Ireland peace process until 2007. He is currently President of the Washington College and Senior Associate of the CSIS International Security Program. Please, Ambassador.
Madam President, distinguished guests, and all those in the audience and watching in Camp Ashraf and around the world who love freedom and democracy, thank you for inviting me to Geneva to speak today. I'm honored to be with you and to be on the same panel with so many distinguished public servants. A few years ago, I served in the U.S. government. My responsibilities included examining foreign policy challenges around the world for the Secretary of State. This meant analyzing issues and assessing trends to see whether challenges were getting better or getting worse, and then recommending what the Secretary should do to best promote U.S. security. I look at the challenge before us today, the dire humanitarian situation at Camp Ashraf and the need to delist the MEK, and I see that the trends are starting to favor the forces of justice and freedom. In particular, I see positive trends in three important areas. First, at the United Nations. Second, with the media's coverage of this story. And third, within the U.S. government. Let me address each one briefly. First, the United Nations. Within the past few months, the leaders of the MEK and those who believe in this cause have effectively lobbied the United Nations here in Geneva and in New York. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights has accepted petitions from the residents of Camp Ashraf who have requested the granting of refugee status. And the UN High Commission is moving forward to consider these requests. In the meantime, these Camp Ashraf residents are now officially asylum seekers under international law, which provides them with another layer of protection against violence by the Iraqi government forces and the Iranian regime. Further, these petitioners do not have to announce their membership in the MEK in order to apply for refugee status. All of this is progress, and the story of Camp Ashraf takes place within a larger recent trend where the international community has not stood by helplessly and simply watched innocent civilians be slaughtered. I'm talking, of course, about the humanitarian intervention in Libya by the United States and the European powers. Faced with the imminent slaughter of the residents of Benghazi, these countries, along with the UN and the Arab League, decided never again. Never again would they stand by and watch the murder of innocent civilians when they could act and save lives. And act they did. They decided to join together and invoke the international community's responsibility to protect. I believe, and I know you'll agree, that the international community also has a responsibility to protect the innocent residents of Camp Ashraf. It is simply not possible to stand by and do nothing. If never again applies to the residents of Benghazi, then it certainly applies to the residents of Camp Ashraf. The international community cannot claim they do not know the peril in which the brave residents of Camp Ashraf live every day, not after the events of April 8th earlier this year. 6 months ago, these commitments by the United Nations and the larger international community did not exist. They do today. Now that the UN High Commissioner and the UN Secretary General have publicly acknowledged the plight of the residents of Camp Ashraf, I believe that this will lead to even greater involvement and protection by the United Nations. The second trend has to do with media coverage. For much of this year, the media's coverage of the MEK and Camp Ashraf was negative and suspicious. Many of your friends, some of whom are on the podium this afternoon, were personally singled out by the media and criticized for our support. If it was thought that this type of slander and intimidation would work, I am here to state it will not. We have stood with you yesterday, we are standing with you today, and we will stand with you tomorrow. Pushing back against a sea of media misinformation and disinformation is a new media strategy that your leadership has adopted. I believe that the tide has now turned, and in the months to come, many more people will receive a much fuller picture of the plight of the residents of Camp Ashraf and the need to delist the MEK. The third trend is taking place within the U.S. government. Your message, our message, is increasingly reaching officials at the highest levels of the U.S. government. The Court of Appeals deadline for resolution of the MEK status and possible delisting continues to exert pressure on the State Department. The administration also knows that Prime Minister Maliki's artificial deadline to close the camp by December 31st gravely threatens the lives of the residents there, and that the U.S. government needs to resolve this issue, or else they will be responsible for a humanitarian disaster. Further attention will come later this fall when Congress holds hearings on Iraq and Iran. Government officials will be asked to testify. I am confident that Camp Ashraf and the MEK will be on the agenda, forcing the administration to address these issues in public. In particular, I am hoping that we can learn who ordered the removal of U.S. forces from the camp before the horrific events of April 8th and why they did so. Again, Again, 6 months ago, these issues did not occupy the time of senior administration officials the way they do now. Now, everyone in the U.S. government understands these issues and understands what's at stake. So the trends are positive. They are going in the right direction. But the challenge remains. So what do we do next? First, we need to keep up the pressure. The residents of Camp Ashraf need international protection, and they need it immediately. New communications equipment has been installed around the camp There needs to be international monitors, preferably UN monitors, placed at the camp to safeguard the residents. This needs to be done now. Second, the American administration needs to be encouraged to take a more active role in shaping the future of Iraq as America winds down its force levels. It cannot let itself be outmaneuvered by the Maliki government or be intimidated by the mullahs in Iran. As we all know, the U.S. has a special responsibility to protect the residents of Camp Ashraf. Governor Rendell and Attorney General Mukasey have already spoken eloquently to that point. This responsibility does not end on December 31st. It does not end when the last American soldier leaves Iraq. It ends when all the residents of Camp Ashraf are safe and secure, and when they are all allowed to live their lives in peace and in dignity. The fastest, the easiest, the best way to accomplish this goal is to delist the MEK. Thank you.
Merci. Je donne maintenant la parole au sénateur Giorgio Bornacin, qui est membre du Parlement, qui est membre du Sénat italien.
Signora Presidente Rajavi, gentili signori, gentile signore, mi sia consentito innanzitutto esprimere la mia soddisfazione e la mia gioia per essere qua oggi con voi. Dopo tante manifestazioni, tanti incontri in Italia, a Roma, alla Camera, al Senato, a Parigi, essere qui oggi a Ginevra, che è la culla dei diritti umani, del rispetto dell'uomo in pace e in guerra, è estremamente importante. Essere qui anche con tante personalità internazionali. E consentitemi anche di ringraziare dal profondo del cuore Ashraf, il campo di Ashraf, per lo stupendo spettacolo musicale che ci ha offerto. Ha toccato un po' le corde del mio cuore sentir cantare O Sole Mio. O Sole Mio è un inno alla vita, alla gioia, all'amore. Speriamo che il sole della libertà, il sole dei diritti umani, presto possa splendere anche su Ashraf. Sentire belle notizie a riguardo alla posizione dell'Alto Commissariato dell'ONU per i rifugiati è certamente bello, è certamente interessante, ma però noi sappiamo che c'è anche molto da fare. Il campo di Ashraf è ancora sotto l'assedio, soprattutto quello sanitario. Ancora gli altoparlanti finalizzati alla tortura psicologica degli abitanti sono in funzione e il governo iracheno, nonostante l'Alto Commissariato fosse seriamente coinvolto nel caso, non ha adottato rapporti collaborativi con gli organi dell'ONU per la soluzione del problema. L'ultimatum per la chiusura del campo entro la fine del 2011 vige ancora. Io mi trovo in d'accordo con gli altri relatori di questa tribuna a proposito del fatto che l'ONU debba garantire la presenza permanente dei suoi osservatori, 24 ore su 24, e che questi ultimi debbano reagire per neutralizzare le pressioni applicate dal governo iracheno ai danni dei residenti di Ashraf. La realizzazione di tutto ciò è nella responsabilità del Segretariato Generale e dell'Alto Commissariato per i rifugiati. Io e i miei colleghi in Italia siamo convinti che l'ONU dovesse agire molto prima e facciamo fatica a comprendere le titubanze dell'Alto Commissariato a tale proposito. Il Segretariato Generale e l'Alto Commissario per i rifugiati devono ripassare la storia deludente e ingloriosa degli approcci dell'ONU con altri casi di crimini contro l'umanità, dove l'aver tentennato e le indecisioni. Infine, vi voglio promettere anche da parte dei miei colleghi che noi ci adopereremo incessantemente affinché si realizzi l'insediamento permanente della squadra degli osservatori dell'ONU all'interno del campo. Questo non solo come un atto umanitario puro, ma anche come un'azione contro il fondamentalismo quale minaccia del mondo ed un passo per la salvaguardia dei valori umani. Ho sentito dire prima, ed è vero, che l'Iraq è sovrano sul suo territorio, è sovrano nelle sue istituzioni. Ma l'Iraq è sovrano sul suo territorio e sulle sue istituzioni perché tanti ragazzi americani, italiani, inglesi, europei hanno versato il loro sangue per difendere quel territorio e per difendere quelle istituzioni. E allora noi esigiamo per quel sangue dall'Iraq il rispetto di Ashraf e il rispetto dei diritti umani, anche perché la signora Rajavi, in qualità di una donna musulmana e leader di un movimento antifondamentalista, come gli eroi di Ashraf, quali esempi dell'onorabilità dell'uomo, meritano il nostro rispetto, la nostra stima, la nostra solidarietà, la nostra lotta.
Thank you very much. And now I'm calling Dr. Matthew O'Ford, is member of another parliament, the British Parliament. So.
Madam President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I very proudly stand here before you today, here in Geneva, the home of the United Nations, in order to discuss the issue of Camp Ashraf. As has been said, I also stand here as a British Member of Parliament and a British member of the Committee for a Free Iran. This is ably led by Lord Cobbett, of whom many of you here know today, and whose hard work has ensured that the PMOI is no longer on the prescribed list of terrorist organisations within the EU. We enjoy great support from many parliamentarians across the United Kingdom, both in the House of Commons and House of Lords, and so I stand here today as a representative of all those people. I also stand here in support of many of my constituents in my Hendon constituency, who have friends and relatives in Camp Ashraf. I'm very aware of their anxiety and concern that they have for those friends and relatives, particularly as they face an ever-present threat from the Iraqi authorities and the nefarious activities of the Iranian security services. So I particularly welcome the recent public statement by the UNHCR recognising the camp residents who have now applied for asylum and will be formally acknowledged under an international law. One way that we can achieve the safety and security of the people in the camp is to provide the presence of a United Nations monitoring team to be permanently resident at the camp. In fact, if the camp was recognised as a refugee camp by the United Nations, this would provide yet further protection for the residents of the camp. Furthermore, the Iraqi government must refrain from aggressive and hostile acts against the residents at the camp, all of whom are now protected. The government must respect international law and abide by the numerous international conventions to which she is party. As a first step, the Iraqi government must allow the EU monitors and humanitarian rights observers to enter the camp and to monitor the situation in Camp Ashraf. So in conclusion, we can achieve our objectives. We can ensure the rights of the residents at Camp Ashraf, that they are protected. Through the efforts of the United Nations, the human rights agencies, parliamentarians and many others around the world, this can be done. We can protect the rights of those in Ashraf. We must not forget those people. They are the legitimate resistance of the Iranian people. They are the only hope for a free and democratic Iran. and their only crime has been to resist the tyrannical Iranian regime. I salute those people. I salute the men and women who have faced those challenges. I also salute them for their bravery, and I say that we here today stand with them as well. We stand with the people of Iran in addition in their struggle for a free and democratic homeland. Thank you very much.
Merci à tous nos orateurs. Nous allons maintenant entendre une présentation de 3 chansons par Madame Gizo Shakeri. C'est une chanteuse célèbre et une artiste militante en exil qui a consacré son talent et sa voix à la liberté pour son pays, l'Iran. Madame Shakeri est accompagnée de 2 autres artistes très connus, membres du Conseil national de la Révolution iranienne. Monsieur Bastanciar, compositeur et chef d'orchestre, et Monsieur Taher Zadeh, maître de musique traditionnelle iranienne. La présentation qui va suivre enchaînera une composition entre piano et 2 instruments de musique iranienne traditionnelle, le tar et le tombak. C'est une œuvre du maître Shams, ancien chef de l'orchestre philharmonique de la radio-télévision iranienne et membre du Conseil national de la résistance iranienne.
سلام میکنم به همه شما عزیزان، خصوصا به اشرفیان عزیز که اینجا هستن با ما. کارهای زیباشون رو دیدیم، واقعا درود بر این بچه ها که با اون فشار و اختناق و مشکلاتی که دارن کارهای به این زیبایی رو اجرا میکنن و با آرزوی این که هرچه زودتر این عزیزان مشکلاتشون برطرف بشه و من بی تردید مطمئنم که با تمام کوشش‌های خستگی ناپذیری که خود اونها و ما داریم اینجا انجام میدیم حتما موفق خواهیم شد و حفاظت رو خواهیم گرفت. خسته و مطرود و حیرانی وطن، خفته در خون هزارانی وطن. سرنوشت ما چه یکسان است ببین، مثل من ویرانه ویرانی وطن. بی آشیانه گشتم خانه به خانه گشتم، بی تو همیشه با غم شانه به شانه گشتم، بی تو همیشه با غم شانه به شانه گشتم. یگانه من از تو نشانه من بی تو نمک ندارد شعر و ترانه من بی تو نمک ندارد شعر و ترانه من سرزمین من خسته خسته از جفایی سرزمین من دردمند بی‌نوایی سرزمین من بی سرود و بی نوایی سرزمین من سرزمین من خسته خسته از جفایی سرزمین من دردمند بی نوایی سرزمین من بی سرود و بی نوایی سرزمین من ستاره من راه دوباره من در همه جا نمیشه بی تو گذاره من در همه جا نمیشه بی تو گذاره من تو را ربودم از پای عشرت خیش قلب تو را شکستن هر کی به نوبت خیش قلب تو را شکستن هر کی به نوبت خیش سرزمین سرزمین من کی ره تو را گشوده سرزمین کی به تو وفا نمود سرزمین من کی غم تو را سروده سرزمین من کی ره تو را سرزمین من کی به تو وفا نموده سرزمین من بله سرزمین ما سرزمین سانسور شکنجه اعدام آزادی خواهان سربدار و سرزمین مقاومت مبارزه پیروزی
Merci aux artistes pour cette fantastique prestation. Thank you to all.